So first, we just want to say that this class and today's SCA and Tanach study day of learning as a whole is sponsored in memory of Mr. Stanley Chera A Shalom by the Chera family. I want to thank them for everything. It's great to see everybody with us. Hopefully, just to share some Divrei Torah about Israel, about Simcha that we have, and and celebrating Yom Haasmaut. Shout out to my father who's in the audience. Shout out to Abe Kopit internationally, seeing Abraham. Leave it up, Abraham. There you go. Again, he's living the dream, so he could be giving the class. So as he's in Eretz Yisrael. Okay, so I wanted to talk about a very interesting piece of Tisha B'Av liturgy, and I think what it's going to show is something very inspirational regarding Yom Ha'atzmaut. We see that it's we see a ma'amar of Hazal. Our rabbis teach us, and they say, we all know, Im ishkachech Yerushalayim tishkach yamini. If a person were to forget Yerushalayim, so let my right hand be forgotten. On this, in Masechet Ta'anit, and we see on Daf Lamed Amud Bet, and also it's in Bava Batra, Daf Ayin Bet, we see that there's a reward for somebody who properly mourns Yerushalayim and properly mourns the Churban Bet HaMikdash. So I'll just read you the line. Kol hamitabel al Yerushalayim. Anybody who properly mourns the destruction of Yerushalayim and the temple, zocheh vero'eh besimchata. Zocheh vero'eh besimchata. They will merit and see it's the rejoicing in in that person's time. So just I'm going to put this this statement. Kol hamitabel al Yerushalayim zoche vero'eh besimchata. And I'm going to throw that in the chat for you guys, so everybody can see the chat. Just give me a thumbs up. Kol hamitabel al Yerushalayim zoche vero'eh besimchata. So I just want to throw the syntax up there for a reason, to show you that anybody who mourns Yerushalayim will, in the current, zoche vero'eh besimchata. So there's something very positive. We know that what we try to do is make sure that all of our the syntax.
I'm listening to Ikey.
Ready to mute themselves. They didn't get my sister muted. There you go. All right, good. We have, so what do we see? It's very puzzling. The Hatam Sofer had this question, and the Baal Haitur had this question, and says the syntax of the pasuk doesn't seem to make sense. If a person is going to be mitabel in Yerushalayim, he or she is to mourn Jerusalem. So, zoche, it should be, how should the pasuk be, how should the ma'amar of Hazal be written? It should be in the future tense. The future tense should read, Yizkeh v'yira'eh simchata. They will merit and will see the future simcha in Yerushalayim. Meaning right now, if the person is mitabel, again, what's the context? The context here is Tisha B'Av, saddest day of the year. The saddest day of the year, Tisha B'Av, we're sitting on the floor, we're eating an egg, we have, some people put ashes in it, we have no shoes, we're not saying hi to everybody, and we're mourning the loss of the temple. So right now, if there's a Tisha B'Av, this year, inshallah, there should not be a Tisha B'Av. Say Amen. Hopefully Hashem will see us, and this Yom Haasmaut will be all dancing in Yerushalayim. If God forbid we're sitting on Tisha B'Av, and we are sitting and mourning the temple. So in the current state, There's no temple. So if I am going to see, if one properly mourns now, in the future, you will see the Yerushalayim will rejoice. So what's going on here? So the Baal HaItur and Hatam Sofer say something amazing regarding this concept. And they contrast it by Bar Minan Lo Alenu, a real mourner, a person who is mourning the loss of someone, versus the mourning of Yerushalayim. He starts with the mourning of a regular person. And I always remember, if I could just quote this, and it was a very sad a moment for me, but I always remembered it. I was in Eretz Israel, living there for the year in 2006, 2007. And I remember that Rabbi Diamond's daughter passed away. I remember it was a very tragic accident, and she was coming home Friday night, and she was tragically struck by a car. And I remember listening to Rabbi Diamond's words at the Arayat. Now think of it: this is a man that he's saying words of consolation for his own daughter. It's unfathomable. We should never know. But he started to compare it to somebody who was going to study for the year in Israel. He said, "Look, I know my daughter is in a better place. Zingat Hayden, she's there. Much like when a person says goodbye to their child to go and learn in Eretz Israel. When a person learns in Eretz Israel, we know it's the right thing. We know it's the right thing for them to go and study. So why is the scene at the airport oftentimes where the person is crying, where the parents are crying? Because you're going to still miss the person, even though you know that they're going to a better place. I'm going to miss them. I'm going to miss their smile. I'm going to miss being able to talk to them. I'm going to miss being able to hear their words. And the same thing with, and Rabbi Diamond said, look, I understand my daughter is in a better place, but I'm always going to miss her. I'm always going to miss being able to talk to her, to hear her voice, and to hear those words. What does this mean? When an Avel is mourning over something, over a human being, that loss in the physical world is permanent. That is a permanent loss. That person will never walk, that exact person will never walk the face of the earth again, unfortunately. It will not, and then even the Baal Yituri goes through and he says, what about Tehiyat HaMetim? He says, Tehiyat HaMetim, we put the soul, the person comes up, and they have one mission. They have one mission to see the redemption. They're not coming to people's houses, having coffee, let's catch up, we're coming to seeing the redemption. And unfortunately, that person is going back down. He's going back down to again, without any pain and suffering, but that person is going to not be walking around as if he would have normally. That's in contrast to what's happening here. The reason why we say, and go back to what we put in the chat, is that currently, in the here and now, even without the temple, 100%, we don't have full redemption in Yerushalayim, even though Baruch Hashem, we see the streets are busy, there's learning Torah, etc., and it should be restored to that swiftly. This redemption and the Shekhinah going to Yerushalayim is something perpetual. It always exists in our hearts. It's something that can come and can be restored at every single moment. If at each and every moment something can be restored to its original glory, then it is not like something that is dead and that needs to be seen in the future. The potential that exists is potential that exists even in the present. And therefore, Zocheh v'ro'eh b'simchata means that not only is this something that can happen to you immediately in this here and now, but it's predicated on you believing that that can happen each and every moment. And understanding that the Shekhinah that can bring back Yerushalayim is current and is living with you at each and every moment. This is a deep concept that the Baal HaYitur says, and the Hatam Sofer says, that if a person is really, what does it mean, Kol HaMit'abel Al Yerushalayim? Zocheh v'ro'eh b'simchata. And why are both things in the present when one seems to be in the future? Because they're really both in the present. When it comes to mourning, Yerushalayim, we need to understand that it's eternal. That that potential of Bnei Israel, that potential of HaKadosh Baruch Hu restoring us to our glory is perpetual. It's not like a person who passes away. It's not where something physical is finite and then it leaves the earth. The special kedusha of Eretz Yisrael, the special kedusha of Yerushalayim, is what we call a kedusha that never leaves. That kedusha is with us perpetually. It's not like a person. A person can leave us, but Yerushalayim can never leave us. The spirit of the land of Israel never leaves us. This is also why we understand, if we can go, this is one concept that we share in Ta'anit. Excuse me. This is also why Tisha B'Av is called a Mo'ed. People don't pay attention to the dichotomy that we have on Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av, we don't say any Tahanunim, especially during Mincha time, we say Yishem. We have this concept of Nachamu Ami on the day of the holiday, which is to comfort oneself on the holiday. How can we be comforted? How are we saying Yishem? How are we saying Nachamu Ami? And the Hatam Sofer says that this is the exact answer that we said, which is understanding the secret to this Ma'amar Chazal that we put in the chat. Kol HaMit'abel Yerushalayim Zocher B'Simchata. The fact that a person can feel Tisha B'Av in such a strong way, where he's fasting, where he's sitting on the floor, where he's not wearing shoes, where he's not saying hi to anybody, he's not with his spouse, it shows that Yerushalayim is still alive and well in his heart. And what this statement means, if you're mit'abel with Yerushalayim, zocheh v'ro'eh b'simchata, on some level, when a person is mourning for something that's not even physically experienced in his own lifetime, it shows that it's already alive in his heart. It shows that there's what we call hatzi nehama. There's already some solace that's being taken by understanding that he's zocher presently and ro'eh presently b'simchata. He makes it a part of his life already from this part and from this standpoint. From the standpoint of understanding that this avelut is something that's very deep. We also see this concept. By the brothers. Yosef and Yehuda are inexplicably connected to the redemption. We know that there is Mashiach ben David and there is Mashiach ben Yosef. There are two aspects of this. There are two stages of redemption that we're going to see. The Mashiach ben Yosef is going to come first, and then we're going to have Mashiach ben David. That there are two stages. So this is a very deep concept of understanding how there are two stages from Yosef and David. So we see that David HaMelech, the kingship, right, ends up coming from, we see Yehuda. Yehuda is the Melucha. Yehuda is the kingship. And we see that Yosef and Yehuda, they were tied in the story of the brothers coming to finally be able to meet up with Yosef. We see that Yehuda understood and went to Yaakov Avinu and said, unlike Reuven did, where Reuven said, here, take my children, they'll be almost as a collateral with you. If I don't come back, you can take them, kill them. He was missing the point. Reuven thought that through bloodshed, or for eye for an eye, if you will, that was the way to bring the redemption. Yehuda told Yaakov very simply and said, you know what the redemption is about, Yaakov? It's about faith. It's about believing in each other. It's about believing in the Ahdut. You're worried that we're not going to bring back Binyamin. We learned from our mistake. We learned from our mistake of not being united with our brother. We understand that we made a mistake with Yosef. But trust us, we're going to save this family, and we've learned from our mistake. When Yehuda comes in front of Yosef, Yosef sees that the Teshuvah came full circle. He saw that the Teshuvah understood that what happened. We saw that Hakadosh Baruch Hu understands that that Yehuda understood that he said only with the Ahdut and only with the Emunah can we be redeemed. And the story on the Peshat level of Yosef and Yehuda being reunited, and the very emboldened speech that he gives in front of his brother, that it's only about saving the life of Yaakov, that it's only about food. But again, the Hatam Sofer says it's much deeper than that. He says that how is it much deeper? It's much deeper in the fact that we see that the Teshuvah, the Ahdut, the unity, Yehuda felt that the spirit of Yosef was with him always. And he had learned, he carried the lesson from Yosef with him for the rest of his life. And until Yosef reveals that it is actually him, Yehuda ends up fighting to the death for not only Yaakov, but for the legacy of his brother. His brother's legacy was very deep and very real in his heart. That, Rabotai, is exactly what we're saying when Chazal tell us that anybody who mourns Jerusalem is in the present tense going to merit there's the simcha and see the simchata. What are we talking about, the rejoicing? We're not necessarily talking about, how come it doesn't say zochev ro'eh bebinyana, or in it being rebuilt? It could very well be rebuilt. Zochev ro'eh besimchata. You know what the simcha of Yerushalayim is? The simcha of Yerushalayim, the rejoicing of the city of Yerushalayim and of the land of Israel. And of course, now in our times, in our modern times, in our modern times, the state of Israel is that does a person constantly think and constantly pine towards Medinat Israel and towards Eretz Israel? Is it alive in a person's heart? If it's alive, if you're able to mourn Yerushalayim and mourn that we don't have everybody there, and mourn that we don't have a temple, and mourn that we still see the Dome of the Rock on top of Kodesh HaKodashim, then if a person could really feel that aspect, if a person can feel that we don't necessarily have shalom between all of the factions of Jews that are all around the world, if a person can actually be mitabel on Yerushalayim, the concept of Yerushalayim as well, then zochev ro'eh b'simchata, it's a present day simcha, because that person is already more than halfway there. Yehuda was in tremendous sorrow and angst over his brother, and he wanted to make sure that his father was taken care of. And of course, it was mitabel, but he already had that simcha. He was already there. The fact that he carried that with him and he stood in front of Yosef, unbeknownst to him, and he stood strong, it led to the redemption. It led to the Bnei Israel literally being able to go down to Egypt and start and sow the seeds of Geulah and sow the seeds of redemption. Rabotai, we have that same challenge today. It's very difficult for us, especially sitting in, most of us here online, sitting in Chutz La'aretz. To sit in Chutz La'aretz, outside of Israel, it's very easy to become numb, myself included, to our day-to-day. It's very easy for us to take our eye off the ball and to not focus on where we should be, on where we should end up. on the holy soil that HaKadosh Baruch Hu designated specifically for us. And sometimes our goals and our life goals are specifically oriented only towards our homes, either here in Brooklyn, in New Jersey, wherever we might be. And we only focus on just amassing more and more either wealth, more and more power, stature, building up our kehilot. And sometimes we lose out on understanding that there's a redemption here. My students try to ask me, say, Rabbi, do you think, oh, now that it's coronavirus, that's it, definitely Mashiach, right? 100%, 100%. We never try to guess about the times of Mashiach, but yet the times of Mashiach have been upon us for a few generations now. But what is HaKadosh Baruch Hu waiting for us? It's waiting for us to make it real. Is it in our hearts? Are we looking forward to it? Are we trying to reach the Holy Land? Are we trying to reach that Achdut where we are Shalem? Our last point, which we can, and we'll just do a brief summary. Brief summary so far, we saw that the statement of Hazal, Kol HaMitabel Al Yerushalayim Zocheh V'Roeh B'Simchata, seems a little puzzling. It's puzzling in the fact that the beginning, which makes sense that it's written in the present, the reward should be, if I mourn now, I should be able to be Zocheh, Yizkeh, V'Yira'eh, in the future, to see Yerushalayim and its Simcha. Why is it in the future? And we said that it's in the future because mourning the temple and mourning Israel being complete is not like mourning the loss of a person. A person, once they leave this world, they never return. But the Shekhinah is always with us. And if a person puts that Shekhinah in our hearts, then it's as if there is a present day Simcha. That Simcha is that the person who mourns is able to realize that there's something greater, something bigger than him. And they learn from the trials and tribulations of the past. Much like Yehuda did when he felt like he lost Yosef, his brother. And that also answers the question why we say Hishem at the end of Tisha B'Av, and why Tisha B'Av is called a Moed. It's called a holiday. Because if we're still mourning the temple, if all these years something we never saw, that's something to celebrate. Because it shows that it's real and it's in our hearts. And that has to be something that we always take with us. My final point is that if you look at how Yerushalayim is written, mostly across almost everywhere in the Tanach, it's written as Yerushalem. And that final shoresh is that it should be Shalem. Some people machloket as to what the Yerush means, right? Is it Yerusha should be Shalem? A person's house should be complete. Hashem's kiseh should be complete. As we see by Amalek, Yad al Kesiyah. We said Yad al Kesiyah means that the kiseh of Hashem has been incomplete since the times of Amalek. That's why kiseh is written as Kes, Kaf Samech, and not Kaf Samech Aleph. Kas Yad al Kesiyah. And we see that Yerushalayim, if a person is mitabel al Yerushalayim, he's Zocheh V'Roeh B'Simchata. If you are being able to be mitabel on the fact that we are not shalem and that we are whole as a people, then you can be ro'eh b'simchata. So what's the inyan here about saying Yerushalayim? Maybe it should have said kol ha'mitabel al hamikdash. Why specifically the holy city of Yerushalayim am I able to be zocheh v'ro'eh b'simchata? So it can come and answer the question that we had also as to why the end of the statement says b'simchata and not b'binyana. What is true simcha? We say that when it comes to a Yom Tov, and simcha ela b'basar u'b'yayin. When it comes to talking about a holiday, it says that there's no simcha unless a person is rejoicing with meat and with wine. A lot of us like that, right? We love to, when we go on the holiday, we can eat as much meat and wine. We're very excited. That's the simcha. If you look in the Gemara Masechet Betzah, it says that anybody who only fills themselves up with with wine and with meat. It's as considered, this is wrote down in the words of the Rambam, very graphic imagery, that a person is eating from a table of bar minan, of vomit and of corpses, very disgusting, putrid things. What does the Rambam say? If a person really wants to have simcha, you know what real simcha is? Real simcha is when you help out the other person and make sure that they have a holiday table that's filled with delicacies. Just because you have a table with delicacies does not mean that the other person does have it, and therefore you've missed a large portion of the holiday. That's true simcha. True simcha is rejoicing together with somebody else who can't rejoice. I think, and this is again my own thought, that I think that Yom Haasmaut poses one of the biggest challenges for us, community-wide and nationwide. The fact that we have a split in our community and around the Jewish world, whether we should celebrate Yom Haasmaut, whether not to celebrate Yom Haasmaut, it's a challenge. It's a challenge for us to have a reaction. Should we curse and chastise those people who are not celebrating Yom Haasmaut? Or do we need to reach out, and do we need to act through education? Do we need to act through ahdut? Do we need to act and maybe have a dialogue to increase the sin'ah? Because of such a day, we may be losing the purpose of the day ourselves. What SCA is doing today, what we're trying to do with all the classes is beautiful. We're trying to unite through Torah. We're trying to say, you know what, we have the opportunity to be united together with all of our people, and be shalem. How are we shalem? Through simcha. Let us just focus on our happiness. The happiness, be'ezrat Hashem, will be contagious. We don't need to show and have more strife with other people. You can stand up for what you believe in. We can be strong in our convictions. If we're discussing it with somebody, you don't need to hold back. But it should always be respectful and not through lashon hara and tearing the other person down. It's a very tough test because we believe in it so much. But coming off parashiyot Tazri'a Mesoraf, it's one thing we've learned. It's to make sure that everybody is curtailing that lashon hara and trying to make sure that we are shalem. The reason why the punishment for saying lashon hara is sarat, and the person has to be cast out from the machaneh, is because you put a wall between you and your friend. So therefore, the punishment is you now must be separated. That is not the concept of Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim is all about being shalem. And hopefully if we can be shalem and take the lessons that we said and make sure that Yerushalayim is always with us in our hearts, we will currently be able to be zocheh v'ro'eh b'simchata. Thank you for everybody for listening, and may you have a meaningful Yom Ha'atzmaut. Again, all of our classes today dedicated in the memory of one of our founders, Stanley Chera A, Shalom, and we should only see the rebuilding of Yerushalayim, Rabbi Amen, and rejoice in the gift that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given us in the state of Israel, Medinat Israel, and Eretz Israel. Thank you for listening.